Hey team, in this video we will be building an AI powered text editor that will help you generate ideas and effortlessly paraphrase text. Get ready because this is going to be a fun build. Let me demonstrate how this works. So it works as a normal editor would. You can type in something, hit enter, hit tab, nothing happens. And you can have bold text, you could change the size of it, and you could insert pictures, up to you. But what differentiates it is if I hit slash and say write a copy on chaos and hit tab, it should give me a response from the backend. Yeah, so now we have a response from the backend saying chaos is everywhere, so and so. I can also paraphrase this. So if I hit this button here, it should paraphrase here, but this time we don't have a loading state. In the backend, it's paraphrasing it. It will take some time. Let's wait. Yeah, so now it has paraphrased the text for us. So this is what we'll be building. This is an intermediate project, so I wouldn't recommend it to a beginner, as we'll be delving deep into some advanced topics. We'll be using Next.js for the full stack framework. We'll be using Rapid API for the paraphrasing and also generating those copy for us. And you could optionally use OpenAI also, but I chose to use Rapid AI just because why not. We'll be using TypeScript for this project because it's becoming the standard these days. And essentially this is going to be a very fun project. You'll learn a lot. Hope you guys enjoy. Let's fire up our terminal. Go to your directory where you want to create it. So in my case it's dev yt. In here let me create a new next app. So npx create next app at latest. So give us the latest version. We'll call it wordcraft AI yt, and I'll just hit enter. Now we can cd into that. So I'll just copy this out and I'll press cd. There's no t here. Okay, and let me open VS Code here. In here let's go to our page.tsx and we can clear all this out. We can clear this as well, and we can go to layout here. We can actually rename this to wordcraft AI, and you can probably give something more descriptive here. So text editor powered by AI. That's it. Next, open your terminal here and we'll install a dependency called react quill. So now let's get ready and create a file called .env. Go to .gitignore, make sure you ignore this. So I'll go in here and type in .env. We'll close this up. So in here we'll have a Rapid API key and Rapid API host. Next up, I want you to create a folder called utils, and inside there we'll have a file called helpers.ts, and inside here I want you to paste in these two functions. These two functions will help us out later while we are developing. So this is one for extracting the words after a slash and to strip the HTML tags. And then we can go to Rapid API. So I've left a link here. You can just go directly to that link and lead you here. So in here what you'll have to do is you'll have to sign up, and you'll have to take in, once you've signed up, they give an example here. You can just copy out their API key from here. You'll have to sign up. So once you've copied out, paste it here, and we'll also get the host. So we can copy this, go back here and we can paste that and save everything, close everything out, and we can start building out a UI. We can remove this as well, and let's create a component called TextEditor. And we are getting an error because this doesn't exist yet, so let's create a folder called components, and inside that we'll have a file called texteditor.tsx and rafc for the initial boilerplate. Save that, and I'll also import this. I'll save that, and let's run the server to check whether everything works accordingly. Go to http localhost 3000. Let me resize this appropriately. Yeah, I guess still loading. Yeah, so we are getting the text editor text here, as this is what we're printing out. So in here, let's bring in our React quill component. Let's say React quill, and I'll just self close it. I'll save it and get an error. That's because this should be a use client component. I'll save that, refresh this, and you get something right here. Let's give it some styling here. I'll save that, and still there's something here. That's because whenever you're using React quill, you'll also have to import CSS for this. So the CSS they provide us, so we'll be placing that now. So this is the CSS which they provide us. If you go to their docs, they provide this for us, and once you've given it, you get something like this. So this is the bare minimum which they give us. Now what I want you to do is we'll place in some CSS for this. So we'll call it custom quill.css. So in here, these are the CSS which is required. So I've already taken the time to explore their docs and find out what are the selectors which they're using, and this is what I found. So if I save this, we should be getting something. Yeah, we're not getting something because we have to import that as well. So import from the same dot custom quill dot css. Save that, and now as you can see here, we are getting something. Let me expand this. So this is what we are getting, which is pretty cool. I can write bold. We have italics. That's fine. I'll again resize this accordingly. Yeah, that's fine. In here, React quill will take some attributes which are theme, which is snow. So we'll be using this built-in snow theme of React quill. Then we'll have a state called value. We haven't created this, we'll be creating this shortly. We'll have a on change, which will be a set value, and we'll have a prop called modules, and we'll call it modules, and we'll have formats, which will also call formats. So if I go inside, we'll save that, and we'll get an error because none of these are defined yet. We'll create that state now. So use state snippet value, set value, and we'll leave it as an empty string here. We'll also import this, and next we'll have to create these now. So const modules, which will be an object, and inside the object we'll have a toolbar, which will be an object again, and inside the object we'll have a container. This will be an array, and if I hit enter, now we can give it some values. So say you want the bold button and you want the italic button, and these are all things which I got from their docs, so you can just check it out. I'll hit save, and now this will be undefined, so we'll have to create that. So const formats. So formats is basically something. So if you want the bold text to be reflected in the text editor, that should be given the format. So inside the formats, we'll have an array again, and we'll just say header, and we can give bold. Actually, I'll leave this out. So header bold. I shouldn't be getting an error anymore. Yeah, so now we have bold, italic, underline, and strike, like so. If I hit bold, it should reflect it. If I hit italics, it won't reflect it because I haven't mentioned it in the formats here. So if I give italics here, italic, and hit save, now if I refresh this, let me type in something, and I hit italics, now it is of the italics format. So that's basically what modules and formats do. Let me paste in all those toolbar components here. So if I save this now and refresh this, as you can see, we get all those properties here. So I can insert a block code, insert a code, or make points, numbered points, whatever. So these are all the values which are needed, and these are again from the docs. I just copied them out. So because this is taking up too much space, what we can do is we can copy this, we can cut it out, and let's go to helpers.ts and just paste it right here. I want the main page to be a little clean. This is just a bit more cleaner way to do things, and I can just import this now. So I'll import that and import this as well. If I save and if I refresh, okay, I haven't saved it here. Now it should work. Yeah, now we are getting everything correctly. If I open my terminal here, you can see there are some errors which I'm getting here. So here document is not defined. This is because React Quill uses a document object which is only available in the browser and not in the backend. And since Next.js is a full stack framework, and by default everything gets processed in the server, we are getting document is undefined. So what you could do is you could manually import it here, something called dynamic, which basically we are saying this component should be loaded only in the browser, and we say server side rendering false. We also wrap it around a use memo just to optimize things a bit. So I can import this as well, and I update it. If I open my DevTools, I save it, I scroll here, let me refresh, and I'm still getting an error because I haven't called it here. So optimize React Quill. Now if I refresh it, I shouldn't be getting that error. So that error is gone. We can now go ahead and build our backend for this. So if I open my Explorer here, and inside here, let me create a folder called aiassiste, and inside there I'll create a new file called route.ts. So this is how you basically create a route in Next.js 13.4. So let me just check the version again, 13.4.4. So this is how you create a route. You create a folder, and inside that you create a file called route.ts. So in here we can create a post request. So export async function post, and inside here we'll be destructuring suggest from the front end. So in Next.js 13.4, this is how you get the object from the front end, which is await request.json. Next up, let's go to Rapid API, and we can actually just copy this out right here, and we can paste it right here, and in here we can replace this with process dot env dot rapid API key, and we can do the same thing for the host. So I'll just take that out. Process dot env dot rapid API host. I'll save that, and before actually moving on, we'll have to install Axios. So in order to do that, npm I Axios. We can then close the terminal out and we can continue here. So let's have a try catch block here. We'll save that. Inside the try, we can have a promise which has a timeout function of 3 seconds, and we can return the response promise once it's resolved. So we are doing this because free tier of Rapid API, I think you get only 10 tries, 10 requests to make to the backend, and we don't want to exhaust it just while developing it. So we are just mimicking what happens in the backend, and we are sending a response called lorem ipsum $ so and so. So this is just for testing purposes. I'll just comment this out. I'll save this, and let's check whether this backend works. So let's go to Thunder client, and in here I have this path which is http localhost 3000, and the endpoint is aiassiste, a post method. If I hit send, I should be getting a response called lorem ipsum so and so. So this is the response, so which means that this backend is configured. So with this we can move to the front end again. So let's go to TextEditor. Let me close all this out. Okay, so we can start building out a function. Now what we want to do is, whenever the user hits slash and types in something and hits tab, the request should be made to the backend, and this should be replaced with the response. So in order to do that, let's create a function called handle key down, and we can, we'll have an event which will be react dot keyboard event, and inside here, if the event dot key is a tab instead of enter, let's console log out tab hit, and we can have a on key down function here. So on key down, handle key down. If I hit save and expand this out, open my DevTools, and now if I hit tab, this that event is fired. So tab hit. I'll hit tab once again, tab hit. So this is working. Now if I let me show you what is actually there inside this value. So let me console log out the value. I'll save this, go back here, and in here let me say hello and hit tab. So if you can see here, this hello is covered with an HTML tag. Now if I hit enter and say I'll hit my something here, I get a p tag again. So all of the values which are entered in this editor are inside HTML tags. So to actually extrapolate only those text inside the HTML, we've created a helper, if you remember here, called strip HTML tags. So this basically creates a div and just extracts the value out of that div. So let me show you how this works. So let me create a constant called suggest, and let me call that function. So strip HTML tags, and let me say value. Let me actually console log out the suggest, and I'll save this. And now if you see, if I hit hello and hit tab, I just get the hello without the HTML tag. So this will be the thing which will be sending to the front end. Next up, what we can do is we can create another constant called prompt to send, and we'll call in another function which is extract word after slash, and we'll give it suggest. So only the word after the slash will be sent to the front end. So this will, as you can see here, we are sending the slash hello. That is what suggest has, but we want to send only the hello to the front end. So that's why we are using prompt to send. We can have another state called is loading to keep track of the loading state. So I'll create a state called is loading and say, give it an initial value of false, and in here we can perform a check, and only if this is not empty and is loading is false, we can send the request to the backend. So we'll set is loading to true. Now we can import Axios. So let me import it out. So import Axios from Axios, and in here we can send a request to the backend. So here I'll make this into an async function so that all the errors go away, and in here we can destructure the response, which is AI prompt from the data. Now I can set the value to AI prompt and set is loading to false. If I save this, and now if I hit slash hello, hit enter, wait for 3 seconds, and we get an error which is a request failed with a status code of 404. So now we can go to the backend. I can see I've made a spelling mistake here. Save that, save everything. Now let's just try whether it works. Let's say hello, the slash, hit tab. Now the change should reflect here. Yeah, so now we are getting a response here. So now if I hit another hello here, hit tab, it got overwritten here. So not to avoid that, what we can do is come here, and just before setting is loading to false, so now what we can do is here, instead of setting the value to AI prompt, which basically overwrites it again and again, we can we use regex here to detect, basically to detect this slash here, and whenever it detects this, it in place of this is overwritten. So if it was hello without a slash, this wouldn't overwrite the slash hello, but if there is a slash, it overwrites it. And as you can see here, I've put a p tag here so that it's in a new line. So if I save this, I'll also console log out the update value so that you can see what is happening. If I save that and I refresh this, if I hit slash hello, I should be getting a response. Okay, now if I hit again hello, it got over. In place of that, it didn't overwrite it, but it placed the text in a new line. So that's basically what this line does. So with this, we've successfully built that aiassiste feature. Now we can go on to implement the paraphrase feature. So let's do that now. In order to create that custom button here, what you can do is, let's go to the helpers file here, and here we can create a custom button called let's say paraphrase btn, and if I hit save, I'll save everything, and if I hover here, you can see there's a, I'll actually go to the source and click here. You can see here we've gotten a button here, but there's no icon here. So now in order to get the icon, we have to go back to the front end. Actually, this took me quite some time to figure this out. you'll have to create a constant called icons and import it from react quill dot import UI icons. Next, what you have to do is you have to essentially call this array with the, and you give it the key called paraphrase btn, and you give it an svg. So if you do this and if you save and come back, refresh this, I'll close this DevTools, I should be getting as you can see this rotation arrow mark right here, but this as of now doesn't do anything. If I click, nothing happens because we haven't implemented the functionality yet. So to implement the functionality, we go back to the helpers.ts, and under containers you have to give a handlers object, and their docs is not very clear on this. It took me a lot of time to figure this out, so I hope this is useful to you. You have to create you have to give it an object, and the key is a callback function, and inside that we can get the editor and button by document.querySelector.ql editor. And if I go back here, open this, hit this button here so I can show you what is going on. If I hit this, you can see the class name is quill paraphrase button here. So that's what we are doing here. We are calling that button here so that we can access it. And next we can give an if statement. If editor is there, we can get the contents of the editor with editor.innerHTML. So we'll have access to all the HTML inside the editor. Next we can do is we can disable the button so that let me finish this. So that once the user hits this, it takes some time for the backend to get the response. So we don't want the user to keep hitting this button and making constant requests to the backend. That's why we disable it for some time. Oops, we go back top. Yeah. So we disable the button. Then we can create a new constant called paraphrase content, and we'll await it. So this is a function which is yet to be created. We'll be creating this in a moment, and we'll give it the content. So this function should should make a request to the backend, and it should return us the paraphrased content. So once that's done, again we can access the editor.innerHTML and change the inner HTML to the paraphrased content. So once all of this is done, we can again, I'll take this out, and we can say button.disable false so that the user can hit paraphrase again. So that's essentially it. Now all we have to do is create this function. So let's go on top. Let's create the function here on top. So I've created a function called paraphrase. It's an async function with user text, and inside here we can access it. We'll strip the HTML tags so that when we send the response to the backend, we don't want all those p tags and h1 tags. We just need the text. So once that's done, we can check whether the text is there. So if it's not empty, only then we'll proceed with the backend. So in here I'll import the Axios. We are making a post request to the paraphrase route which is yet to be created, and we are sending in the text which we're getting, and it should respond with an AI prompt. We are destructuring it and we are returning it. If this is not the case, if text is empty, what we'll do is we'll just give an alert message saying please enter some text, and then we can just return an empty string. Yeah, that's fine. Now let's create this route. So again, go under your app directory, create a new folder called paraphrase, paraphrase, yeah, that seems to be correct. I'll copy this route and I'll paste it in here, route. So I'll just remove all this. So this is basically the copy of what was aiassiste, and in here we can just change this lorem ipsum to, let's say, paraphrased text, and let's check whether this works. So I've saved everything. I'll go back here, I'll remove that DevTools, I'll refresh it just in case. I'll say hello/hello. So this should give us the response from aiassiste, and then if I hit this and if we wait for 3 seconds, 1 2 3, and yeah, so we got the paraphrase text. So both of these functionalities are working now. So I'll uncomment this out and I'll actually copy this so that you guys can also test it when needed. So I'll just give a for testing only, and I can just paste it here. So now we just have to change this response to the one which we want. So instead of this, we can remove this and paste in the response which we get from Rapid API. So you make a request with the options, with all these options, and we get the response. We destructure the response from Rapid API.data and we send it to the front end with AI prompt. We can do the same thing with our aiassiste. Yeah, so I'll uncomment this out, I'll minimize this, I'll copy this and comment this out again for testing purpose only, and over here I'll paste it here and we can change this. I'll remove all of this, I'll paste it right here. Before we actually try the functionalities, let us create another component called loading.tsx and I'll just paste in these values. These are some values which I got from Tailwind spinners, I think they are called, and I just copied that, pasted it here and made a few changes. So we are basically doing this because when the post is being made, we want the user to see a loading state so that he or she at least knows that the request was successfully sent and is being loaded. So let's go back to TextEditor. We can conditionally render the loading component here. So only if is loading is true, I want to render this out. So to show you how this looks, I'll just change this to true, save it, and you can see that you get a loading state here. Fine. Let's go back here. I'll hit false, hit save. Now we can test whether our functionalities are working. So if we go back here, expand this out, let's go to the network tab here just to see whether our requests are being fulfilled. I'll say hello, hit tab, nothing happens, and if I hit slash, write me a copy on computers, and I hit tab, as you can see a post request was made, and let's just wait for the response now. As you can see, we've got our response. The modern world runs on computers. Now let's try paraphrasing this. I'll hit this now and let's wait. You can see the request being made here. And we got an undefined. So I'm getting undefined here. Let's go back to VS Code, and I can see I know what the mistake is. So if I go to helpers.ts, and if I see here, I'm sending text to phrase to the front end, to the back end, and if I go here, this is just suggest, so I'm destructuring the wrong thing. I'll change this to text.phrase, and I'll also have a template literal, and in here I'll give in the text to paraphrase, and I'll also say paraphrase this, and I'll hit hyphen. I'll save this. So this is the text which will be sending to Rapid API, saying paraphrase this text, whatever we're giving here. So now it's undefined. I'll just give in some, I'll reload this just in case, and let me give it some text here, and I'll hit this paraphrase button, and let's wait for the response now. Okay, so as you can see, we've got the paraphrase text here, so both our functionalities work. So this is basically it. This is a relatively simple AI text editor, but with what you now know, you can build upon this. So I hope you learned something from this. Thanks for watching.